I think the national media has inconsistencies when they talk about the Auburn Tigers.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. It's a Charlie Tuesday to all who celebrate Auburn message board legend, the Charlie 5, the man over at thebarnauburn.com and the host of the Top Button podcast hanging out with us. I want to continue a conversation that I had elsewhere with Auburn and Baylor. Biggest road win for the Tigers since blank. Of course, if Auburn were to go to Waco and win in the season opener, then I also want to compare Auburn to Florida, and that'll be a continuation of what we're going to start the show with today. Kyle, I think there's some inconsistencies when you look at how the national media talks about Auburn versus how they talk about other teams in the same light. So ESPN put out a college football future power rankings through the 2026 season. So it's like, let's compare now and the next few seasons through 2026. Okay, great. The factors that they say that they graded and evaluated: returning quarterback, likelihood of a multi-year QB on the roster, O-line/D-line outlook, roster management, star power, coaching staff. Okay. So if you're going to talk about all of these specific things, I actually think Auburn's pretty solid on all of those fronts for different reasons. ESPN ranks them 37th on this list, which I was a little surprised at. That seems pretty low to me.
Yeah. Look, correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels like a lot of the love has been based off of the roster in and of itself. Like that seems to be what Auburn's getting the most, and everybody's giving Auburn the most credit for is the roster. It's closer to a competitive SEC roster than it's been in quite some time. I'm wondering what of these items may be ranked or weighted heavier than others. Like, could this person, whoever did this particular poll, did they put a lot more weight on the coaching staff? Like, do they just not have any any faith in the coaching staff? Because other than the offensive line, you pretty much return everybody next year. I mean, think about it. Almost all the wide receivers come back if you have a good season. Almost all the quarterbacks are going to come back. Running backs, go down the list.
100%. 100%. So the way they write about the coaching staff on this list: Freeze understands the SEC better than most, who recognizes that a winning record is needed at minimum in year 3 with an upgraded roster. Yes, of course. Sure. The second part, though: Auburn retained offensive and defensive coordinators Derek Nix and DJ Durkin, but has a new special teams chief in Chad Lunsford, the former Georgia Southern coach. Like, I think that part's positive. I think they're saying that part of it is positive, and he knows he's got to win this year. So just based on the write-up, I don't think they're necessarily bashing Auburn for the coaching staff.
I mean, based off that, I agree with you.
It's straightforward than a positive, right?
They put a lot on. They say something about like Auburn doesn't return any all SEC players. Now, my question: I wonder how many times teams return a bunch of all SEC players. Like, typically, when there's all SEC players, typically they leave. they go to the NFL or something like that. So, are there a bunch of teams out there that just return just stockpiles of all SEC guys? I don't know that that's really a thing.
Yeah, but I mean, I agree. And if you're ranking these players by star power, I don't know how you don't look at Auburn's roster and say it doesn't have star power on both sides of the football. It's like, look, if you read through Auburn's roster and you just gloss over Cam Coleman, Eric Singleton Jr., Malcolm Simmons, and on the defensive side of the ball, like, you're telling me Keldrick Falk isn't a star? What are you telling me? Jay Crawford isn't a star? You're telling me that some of these DeMarcus Riddick isn't going to have star power this year? They're not returning any all SEC guys.
What would you call a projected first round pick? A star? Because there's like 3 of those.
There's 3 of them right now.
On the team.
Xavier Chaplin and Eric Singleton did not play in the SEC last year. So sorry.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out where this 37. I'm really I'm looking at some of the teams ahead of it, like Nebraska, Colorado. Yeah.
It's interesting. And you're thinking, okay, one of the first thing that they do is returning quarterback, and that's of course yes or no. But are you going to dock Auburn for not returning Peyton Thorne?
Yeah,
that feels weird to me.
Yeah, and then
multi-year quarterback. A lot of them it was like questioned or likely, but for Auburn they had for a likelihood of a multi-year quarterback. They say quite likely. So obviously Jackson Arnold has multiple years left if they want to go that route, and then of course, Deuce Knight is also there.
Yeah, this is a strange.
Now I'm looking at it. They don't even mention Deuce Knight. Am I tripping?
Don't. No, they say.
Yeah, no. Arnold, the number 3 recruit in 2023, could solidify Auburn at the position through at least 2026. The team also has some insurance with Stanford transfer Ashton Daniels, a senior this fall. Well, I guess Daryl Dappridge wrote this.
But the most likely...
Nobody loves Ashton Daniels more than that guy.
The most likely 2-year starter is Jackson Arnold out of this. So maybe that's what they're just naming Jackson Arnold. Is the
you think
most
it's more likely Jackson Arnold starts multiple years than Deuce?
Well, I guess it's only doing through 2026 though, right? So it's only the next 2 years.
True.
So I think it's just picking. I think the highest likelihood is Jackson over the next 2 years.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah,
that's fair. Obviously, offensive line and defensive line outlook, like you feel good about it. They're gonna have to reload the O-line after this season.
Yeah,
the D line, it seems like they've got a plan for, and I think they've got a plan for the younger guys on O-line too. They won't be as proven going into 2026, but you can see that the plan is there. And then they give Auburn credit with the roster management. First line is Auburn gained more than it lost in the portal, as most of their team departures were reserves at positions like defensive back and quarterback. And then
it has Iowa at 23.
Yeah.
What is this? What am I looking at?
They've got Baylor at 32. And when you look at the reasonings, likelihood of a multi-year quarterback, they're like, no. Like they mentioned Walker White there. I don't know. It's like when you read the stuff about Baylor, like it's not near as high. So
Indiana is at 20, and they were like almost built completely off of the portal.
Mm-hmm.
So how do they have they don't have?
Yeah. So I mean, this goes back to my claim. Like I think the national media, and I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm not saying their assessment of Auburn is wrong, but it's not even across the board. Like the way the national media and SEC media is critiquing Auburn, it does seem inconsistent with how they talk about Auburn versus how they talk about other teams.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I'm wondering. I know it didn't say it specifically.
Yeah,
but I'm wondering if they're negatively weighting the coaching staff more than all those other things. I'm wondering if they're just putting a heavy,
maybe so,
a heavy weight on that. And I don't have anything to base that off of. It's just a theory.
No, you're right. But there is another team that's ahead of them, the Florida Gators. And I think these teams are so similar when you look at the Auburn Tigers and the Florida Gators and the current state of their programs when it comes to football.
Yeah.
And one of them's getting the benefit of the doubt over the other. And I just don't fully get it. I want you to help me with this, Kyle, in just a second, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at Game Time. What if I told you can know exactly the amount that you're going to pay for your ticket at checkout? Would you say that that's a good thing or a bad thing?
I don't like surprises, so I think that's a great thing.
Yeah. But you don't want to see like what it actually looks like from your seat, do you?
That would be ideal if you could do that.
You do. If you're spending that much money, you want to know what it's going to look like.
Exactly.
That's why our friends at Game Time have you covered. You can take the guesswork out of buying tickets because it's supposed to be fun, Kyle.
Exactly.
It's not supposed to be stressful.
I love fun.
We love fun. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem with code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed. The Auburn Tigers versus the Florida Gators. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. They have Florida at 15 in this poll.
Yeah.
Auburn at 37. I respect DJ Lagway a ton.
Yeah.
A ton. I don't get it for the rest of the program. I just don't. They won a few more games than everybody expected them to last year. I mean, you talk about coaching staff. It's like, yeah, Auburn's roster is really good, but there's questions about the coaching staff. I mean, Billy Napier was a dead man walking last year, and props to him for winning just enough for them to keep him.
Yeah, he did have a big stretch. He did close really strong. Like
he did.
They won, they beat LSU, beat Ole Miss, who was a top 10. That was a top 10 win. Then obviously won your rivalry game, even though everybody beat Florida State. And then, hey,
that's part of it.
You won a bowl game. Right? You won a bowl game. That seems to be just optional nowadays. But here's the thing: this so identical to Auburn's scenario. As a matter of fact, if you actually look at it side by side, Auburn may be in a better situation after year 2 than Billy was after year 2. Because remember, their recruiting class pretty much fell apart at the end of 2020, that 2023 season. Right. That 2024 class, it fell apart, and Auburn's really didn't. So if Auburn, that ought to give you a little bit of excitement that, hey, if Auburn can go. I mean, Billy went 8-5, but again, he does have DJ Lagway, but the ones he won were good ones to win, and it kind of got everybody fired up. And now they're recruiting out of the chute right now like gangbusters. Like they are killing it right now. Moving up, just snagged Marquez Daniels from Booker T. Washington High School, just right down the road. So
right.
I get it on one end, but it feels like Auburn is actually ahead of where Florida was at this point in time last year.
Just when you look at what Florida has to do this year,
their schedule's rough.
Yeah. Long Island, South Florida, at LSU, at Miami, host Texas, at A&M, host Mississippi State. That's a breath. Bye week. They play Georgia. They go to Kentucky. Okay, whatever. To Ole Miss.
To
host Tennessee. And then, we'll see what happens with Florida State. That is a brutal schedule. And so, like, you can say all you want about, like, DJ Lagway and, some of his supporting, cast and all of that. But what's realistic for this Florida team? I mean, they could be one of the better teams in the conference on paper, which I don't think they are, but they could be, and they'd still lose 3 or 4 of these games, I think. So to me, it's like, what are we looking at when we say, okay, they're 15th when doing, ranking all of the teams in college football when you look at this year and next year? I don't know. I think I'm missing something here.
No, I don't think you are. I think I just think they're putting very heavy weights on certain items over others. Like I just think
coaching staff.
It was, but that speaks to your inconsistency point. I think they're ranking DJ. They're putting so much stock into DJ Lagway. I think that's what's carrying this whole thing because he's going to be a multi-year starter. They won the last 4 games. I think honestly that's more than anything. That's more than anything. And then Auburn checks a lot of those same boxes. Only the quarterback may be a little bit unproven, and then the coaching staff you're concerned about them. But I'm like you. How are you not concerned about like what did Billy do? What did those 4 games? Did that really remedy everything? Those last like all those other blunders. I'm with you. It does seem kind of strange.
Yeah, and those last 4 games. LSU's a good win.
Ole Miss was a great win.
But I mean, Ole Miss falls apart at the end of every season, though, right? Isn't that their thing?
That is their thing. They won both of them at home.
Mm-hmm.
Now they got to turn
at Florida State, like, okay, whatever, who cares? And then Tulane in the bowl game, like
Tulane didn't have. No, maybe they did have their quarterback. Their quarterback went to Duke because he transferred.
Dorian Mensah.
Yeah, I think that's correct.
Did he play in that game? Let's see.
Surely he did. I think he did. Because I think people were
Doesn't
talking
look like
about.
he did because Thompson was their quarterback.
Well, maybe he. Okay. They beat the
Ty
crap out of him.
Thompson. So there you go.
They beat
There
him
you
really
go.
badly. But then you lost to. They really didn't have any bad losses. If you really look at it, all of them are pretty dang good. I mean, you lost to number 2, number 5, number 8. That was three of your 5 losses. But still, I'm still with you. It doesn't seem like It doesn't seem like, at least in this particular article, things are being, I guess, weighted the same.
I'm not trying to say like, oh my goodness, Florida is the worst thing in the world. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just saying the situations are pretty similar.
It's not even pretty similar. I mean, it's freaking identical through the first 2 years. If you look at the record, conference and overall record is identical. And
do they like the fact that he's going into his 4th season and he was going into his 3rd? Like, is it that big of a? I don't know. I just think the way some people and a lot of the folks in the national media are talking about Auburn, I do think there's some inconsistencies. Because you've got lists like this, and then you have other folks like Andy Staples that put Auburn at 13th in their top 25 poll. So it's just so interesting, the different opinions about this Auburn team. It's truly fascinating.
It's definitely, it is fascinating. A lot of love in some places, and then, for those particular reasons, I think most builds around the roster saying, hey, it's hard. It would be hard to be really bad with the wide receiver core like this and that, and down the list.
Yeah, and if we are really bad, we probably should make changes.
Yeah, for sure. It's gonna make recruiting impossible. It's tough right now, but it's gonna make things.
Yeah, if you win a few games, though, I think it puts you in a spot where maybe you can flip some of these kids. They might take you. The vision you're selling going into year 3 gets a little more like concrete. It's like, see, we're close. We've been telling you we're close. Now we are. We're pretty much here. So. Just kind of depends on what they do. Winning will fix everything. Hopefully they do that. Auburn heads to Baylor, Waco, Texas to start this season. If they win, it'll be Auburn's biggest road win since blank. We discuss in just a moment. Right here on Locked On Auburn. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. If Auburn goes to Waco and wins to start the season, biggest road win since blank. I think I talked about this with Brad Law on Village Vice yesterday. He posed the question. I think it's a fantastic question. I want to have that conversation with you, Kyle.
Yeah.
I think it's, the Bo Nix, the Bodini game where he, worked magic over and over and over again to beat LSU and Baton Rouge and break the curse and the streak and all that. I think it's that one.
What year would that be?
21, right? That was Bo's 3rd year, his last year, 21.
Yeah, that would have to be it. That would be it. See, they were unranked at that point in time.
When we beat Arkansas, Hugh's first year.
Yeah.
Arkansas was ranked
17th somehow.
We whooped them. That was a great night. Amaris Williams flipped during like Freeze's presser after the game. It was great.
Yeah, that
was a good night. That's when it started to feel like, oh, maybe this is coming together. And then it just didn't. But
I think I think you got to go back to 2019 and when we went to Texas A&M and won that game.
Okay.
And you started off 1, 2, 3, 4-0. Then you go, then you had Mississippi State and all, and then you're like, dang, man, Bo might be the truth. We might be turning this thing around. I think that was a really good win. We just don't, man. We have been so awful on the road the last.
Yeah, I mean, there's not like that many. When you have to like consider for half a second Kentucky last year, it's like, wow, like what are we doing? Yeah. Hugh's other big one, I guess, is Cal on the road.
Yeah.
His first year. And then, I mean, if you want to go way back, I mean, I think in my opinion, the biggest road win ever is the comeback in 2010 against Alabama. And then
2013
A&M in
A&M
2013
was a really good one.
Ole Miss in 2014.
God, that was a crazy game.
Crazy game. It's even crazier now that their head coach is here.
Yeah. But think about this. It's been pretty rare that, LSU has been, they can either be like the best team in the whole world, or they can just be as average or worse.
Like no in between. Yeah.
No in between.
Mm-hmm.
But if you think about it, like a lot of times our biggest ranked road games are going to be Alabama and Georgia, and it's always been, so those are hard mountains to climb,
right,
on the road. So we don't really have a ton of just really great. I thought that going to Kansas State, that to me, this reminds me a lot of like going to Kansas State.
That's a
in
good
2014. It's a team that you should beat, but they're pretty salty, and it's on the road. It's weird. On a weird night, we played that game on a Thursday, I think. We play this one on a Friday. But
Tyler Lockett is still like catching passes against us.
That game was nuts. And then we throw a fade, to convert on a third down to my man Duke.
To Duke, right? Yeah.
Yeah. That was a wild game because I'd never been to a real true road game before. I've been to a lot of neutral site games. And so that first touchdown when Ricardo Lewis made that catch and broke a couple of tackles and scored, the stadium was silent. So I thought it got called back. Like it must have been called back, but no, obviously they're not going to cheer for the other team scoring. It was just, I don't know. It was weird.
Your first true road game was Manhattan, Kansas?
Believe it or not. I just didn't go to a lot of road games growing up. Like
I don't really like going to road, like hostile environment. Like that's just not, I just don't really care to like be treated that way. You know what I mean?
If we're good, I'll go anywhere. But when it's sort of iffy, I just assume watch it.
Cam Newton, I'll go anywhere in the world. Did you see that take? Who was it? Was it Big Game Boomer, who's like big on socials, where he said, I think he was trying to like take a dig at Auburn, and it's like, well, Cam Newton would have won a national championship anywhere he went. Auburn's just lucky that he went there. Like, okay. Like, I don't think that's the diss that you think it is.
I don't think it is either.
We're over here saying he's the best college player ever. Like,
yeah.
And there's other people that are trying to tell us it's Joe Burrow. And I'm like, I don't think so.
No. That season was insane. But yeah, I'd go anywhere. That is a fun, that would be a pretty, I mean, you just don't have a big resume of over the last decade or so of really good road wins. So
yeah. Now, like, will Baylor be as ranked as high as Arkansas?
I don't
when
think
they
so.
went there. That like, are they going to be higher than 17?
Comparing it, I think they're going to be like
Hugh's
25th.
First big road win against Arkansas. I don't think Baylor's going to be higher than 17, but it just feels like the impact of this game is going to be so much more.
On so many levels. Confidence, the fan base being bought in, and recruiting. Like I've been dramatic about it. I said it's like the first three drives are super important. First three offensive drives are super important and pressure packed.
I mean, it could be like, I'm with you. I try to not be dramatic when talking about it, but like a whole coaching tenure might hinge on this game.
It really could.
Like, could this season turn around if you lose to Baylor? Yes. You 100%. Could go to Oklahoma and go to Texas A&M, and everybody's going to forget about it.
Sure.
Because it's like, if you go 2-1 in those games, like, I don't really care how you get to 2-1. I don't think you can get to 2-1 in those three like early road games if you lose to Baylor. But if you were to lose that, there'll be a meltdown until they win those two games. But it's like, you could turn it around. I just have a hard time seeing that happen if you lose in Waco.
Unless it's something weird. Like let's say you get in a shootout and you're just going up and down the field, and there's some crazy play that they score late, and then you're like, okay, we got some defensive issues that we got to fix. Those should be pretty easy, but dadgummit, that offense is humming. You know what I mean? Like that would be something where I could say, okay, I believe Durkin can make adjustments and get it going. we've yet to see the offense sort of pick things back up. So if it's like a shootout and you win or you lose like 43-42 or something on
Sure, I got you.
Something like that, I think you could.
That would definitely make it more palatable than losing 14-7 for sure,
or 21-10, and you can't score again.
That'd be devastating.
That'd be awful.
Losing 21-10 would be devastating, and I don't know. I don't know
how you come back from that. It would take a monumental turnaround to come back from something like that. But if you're scoring and putting up a bunch of points, you could rally the troops and figure something out on defense. You never know. Like sometimes teams come out and they just have a great game plan for a defense, especially on offense. Like they could come out and just have something we don't really have an answer for. But if we're throwing it up and down the field and scoring points and kicking field goals and converting on third downs and scoring in the red zone, maybe if you somehow lose that game, then maybe you could figure out a way to bounce back.
Yeah.
But boy, I don't even want to go there.
Shows that week will be brutal. If we lose that game.
I might take the week off.
But you wait all year for football season to get here, and it's like, man, I mean, it'd just be crushing.
And you get it a day early. And you got to watch everybody play on Saturday and Sunday. Oh man.
Yeah, it's like other fan bases will be happy, and it's like, no one can be happy right now, please.
No.
But Auburn should win.
Very important.
I'm picking Auburn to win that game, but it's just it's important. It's important. Speaking of important, how can people check out everything that you've got going on?
Absolutely. Subscribe to the Barn Auburn YouTube page where you can catch all of our content that drops every single day. And you can subscribe to thebarnauburn.com, take $25 off your annual membership, and jump in the conversation, have some fun.
Yes, please like the video, please subscribe. And if you're tuning in on audio, please leave a review and make sure you're subscribed on your favorite audio platform. We'll see you next time. This has been Locked On Auburn.